guys, we are going on a journey to discover who is the true 100% quarantine queen. There's been some buzz about Rapunzel and Elsa and Belle all being quarantine masters based on their movies, and as I started to think about it, there seems to be a trend in Disney princess films that has a lot of quarantine themes like self-isolation, princesses cleaning a lot, and being forbidden from the outside world. So I thought it would be fun to rank the princesses and find out who is the true quarantine queen. So first, we are going to be going over some criteria I will be making a lot of my judgments off of. So number one, I will only be ranking official Disney princesses, plus Anna and Elsa. Since all of the Disney princesses have already passed the Disney test to be a princess, I thought we could decide if they are quarantine queen worthy. Plus Anna and Elsa are already queens, so let's see if they're quarantine queens. Number two, I will only be basing my decisions based off of the first movie that the Disney princess appears in. Number three, I will only be basing my decision based off of the princess's actions. So not the side character actions, not the love interest actions, only the princess's actions. However, how they affect other people or how other people affect them may come into account in their deductions or point gaining. So here is how the princesses will be scored. The princess will be deducted points for going against pandemic guidelines. For example, not staying 6 feet away from people, not being clean, not isolating, or just in general being unsanitary. They, however, can gain points for following the guidelines. The princess who is closest to 100 by the end of this entire quarantine queen saga will be deemed quarantine queen worthy. But first, let's go back, all the way back to 1937 when Snow White and the Seven Dwarves first premiered. So you may think that Snow White would earn some points for one of her main hobbies being cleaning, and she does earn some good points for doing that, but if you watch the movie very closely, she does not clean very well. She does start the movie by cleaning and alone, so she does get some points there, good on her. But then when she gets to the dwarf's house and tidies it up, you never see her attempts at cleaning, only all of the animals' attempts. The deer is licking the dishes clean. Snow White does scold him for it, but like, come on, they're wiping it with their butts and their mouths, and that's just gross and unsanitary, so we're gonna deduct some points there. However, later on she does insist that all the dwarves wash up before supper, and they do an entire number about washing up and scrubbing your face with a ton of soap. So she does get points for that as well. She does get some points at the beginning for self-quarantining, and she also is probably already feeling the effects of isolation since she's, you know, singing and talking to animals. So points. But then when the prince enters, they are totally not 6 feet apart. It's not totally her fault. She does run away from him immediately after meeting him. Points for trying to social distance. But then she kisses a dove, so that's gross. Then we see her in a meadow and we meet the huntsman who's about to kill her. He is not 6 feet away from her, but you know, we'll give her a pass here because she is about to get murdered. So we'll just say this one cancels out. But then the huntsman blows his nose and wipes his tears on her dress. And she never cleans it. She's never like at the dwarf's house like, oh, you need to wash my dress because this weird creepy man wiped his nose all over the bottom of it. No, she definitely is getting a lot of minus points here because that's disgusting. She does go on to run away from all of civilization, social distancing to like the extreme, so good on her there. But then she does a lot of questionable things that's gonna get her points dinged pretty bad. She cuddles with a lot of woodland creatures. She goes into a stranger's cottage, a dirty stranger's cottage, and then she moves in with 7 strange men. Here I'm going to talk in defense of the dwarfs. They were isolating themselves. They were away from society and humanity altogether. So they were good. Not totally clean, but self-isolated, quarantined themselves. And they only went to work in the mines and then they would come home. And then this woman comes into their house, touches everything, saying she cleaned it. I saw what those chipmunks did, Snow. I saw. And then what does she do? She sleeps in not 1, not 2, but 3 of their beds. She's pretty inconsiderate of the dwarves, and she sleeps in strange beds in a strange house, and that's just bad. So she's getting plummeted in her points. Oh, also, one of the dwarfs is sneezy, so that's great. I'm not gonna ding him for every time he sneezes around Snow White, because there are some times where he does cover his nose with just his finger. You should cover it with your elbow, but he's a side character and it doesn't always affect Snow White. There is one time that it does, where he sneezes like everywhere. Getting some points down for that. Not as many because it wasn't Snow White doing it, but she was around it, and that's just gross. So then the dwarfs leave the next day, and she kisses each one of them on the head. But I do give her a few points back because Dopey kept coming back to try and get a kiss on the lips, and she kept just turning it to the head, so I mean, that's a little bit better. But Doc also warns her to keep away from strangers, and she does say, "I'll be all right." She is trying to listen to the guidelines, so some points there. But then she doesn't listen because she accepts food from a stranger who is not 6 feet away from her. You don't know where she's been. You don't know this lady, and you let her into your house? Those are big deductions there. When she goes into her sleeping death, she is in a glass coffin, so that's pretty, you know, isolated bubble. Pretty safe in there. But then she lets a strange man kiss her on the lips, and he's been traveling to who knows where. Yeah. I can't ding her too badly because, like, she didn't ask to be kissed. He just kind of came up and kissed her. So just a few points. Just a few points off for that one. Oh, but then she wakes up and she kisses all the dwarfs again. On the head. But again, kissing basically everything. Kisses a dove, strange men, eating strange apples. Stop kissing everything. That's just weird. Oh, but it does end with this beautiful picture of a castle, which means they're going back to civilization, so no more quarantining. A few more points off for that. All right, and that's the end of her movie. So Snow White is on the Quarantine Queen board with a grand total of -14 points. Yeah, she really did a lot of unsanitary things, so I'm not surprised. I think actually the dwarves do a lot better at self-isolation and cleaning than she does. Especially the fact that they don't talk to strangers or let them in their house, and there was like that whole thing about being so afraid that some strange person was in their house. Maybe the dwarves should be the quarantine queens. Well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed discovering how terrible Snow White is at following pandemic guidelines. We still love her, she's pretty sweet, but she just cannot help but kiss everything. So leave a comment down below if I missed anything or anything that you think she should have gotten a little bit more points for. So I'll be doing Cinderella next, so until then, farewell.